called, um, let's see how to put this. Observations. Everyone say observation.
Observation.
I'm gonna go into more depth with this, and I'm gonna be using the Bible to support this. We can observe something, but even in observing it, we can still miss it because our perspective is wrong. We can observe something, but if our perspective is contaminated, challenged, or negative, we can still draw the wrong conclusion. Okay? I'm going to go more. I'll give you a quick example, which I'm going to use. As we were coming here, bless you, Pedro, bless you, Madeline, bless you, Sydney. But as we were coming here and passing through Lower Manhattan, I saw that the World Trade Center was at the top, surrounded by clouds. But as you look at it, all right, as you look at it, I said to Ab, I said, well, if the clouds were on the ground, we would call it a fog because it looked just like a fog. So why does the clouds on the ground be called a fog, but the clouds of the air be called a cloud? All right. We're observing the same phenomenon, but our perspective changed based on the way it's positioned. All right. I'm going to give you many more details on this and how it applies to so many, shall we say, it applies to so many things in life that you can observe family, you can observe um, the city, the country, the politics, science, all right? Science observe all that we observe. We observe the sun and we think of God. They observe the sun and they think of some scientific equation. It ever says all connected to perspective.
It's all connected to perspective.
And because of the perspective, we each draw a different conclusion, if you get my point. The scientist gonna see it from the perspective of the science. We will see it from the perspective of faith, all right? And this is super important. I'm gonna show you why, okay, in a minute. This is super important on your decision making, okay? Some people's perspective on marriage is messed up and it keeps them single. Oh, never mind. Come on, say it's all connected to perspective.
It's all connected to perspective.
Coverage your eye, okay? I'm gonna come back when you were coming. All right, all right. You need some water or anything? Okay, all right. All right. Now, real quick, I'm gonna get into that. By the way, the handouts will be called observation and perspective. But if I really do the job I really want to do on it, it's going to really, shall we say, sharpen your ability to make great decisions. Okay. All right. Number one, the only reason is you're observing well. Okay. Some people say, I don't miss nothing. But what's your perspective? You get my point. All right. We're going to get into that. Now, as you can see, I got my hair cut down, pretty much straight. And how can I say this? I got into a very intense conversation with the young Black males that were in there. I mean, intensive. It was all four. I was the only one standing for Jesus. But, all right. Number one, the number one thing they kept saying is how much the church is hurting the community. And this is watch, this is their perspective. Stay with me. So let's tie that into that, okay? The churches is taking all the resources out of the community. What have they done for the community? I'm gonna give you a quick thing. It just so happens that this barbershop I went to, all right, it's not far from the house where I grew up since I was a teenager. And so the guy he says to me, these two churches around here is hurting the community. And I said to him, I happen to know the pastors and I interviewed them for my newspaper. You gonna tell me I grew up here? Guess what I said to him? After I said my next thing, he had nothing to say. I said, how you gonna tell me you grew up here I said, before you were born, I moved in here in 1973. You weren't even here. So how you gonna tell me about something where I was before you even were born? Crickets. He didn't even had no clue I was there before he even came out the womb. So don't tell me I was here before you, okay? And I said, my mother house is still around the corner. I need you to be quiet. You don't even know the history. I can tell you history. So he just assumed I didn't know the neighborhood. And then he said, well, what have they done? I said, I happen to interview them and I know what they've done for the community. But I said, but you just looking at it one way. All right. But here's the thing. They were declaring now, because this is the PSA, I'm gonna show you something. Someone say it's still gotta be about love. No, don't miss why I'm sharing it. I wasn't there to prove them wrong. I was there to show them the love of God. That's a good place to give God some praise right there. All right. I, I wasn't there to debate them. I was there to reach them by love. Now, it was a very intense conversation. All right. And he says, we're not kings, we are gods. And the Bible is wrong. And they went on and on and on. Oh, no, believe it or not, I let them have their say. And they said, we know the Bible. He said, you should just stay in the Old Testament. And he said, do you eat crabs? I say, I eat crabs. See, I ain't fooling with you. He says, and we're gods. We're gods. He said, Lucifer, all he had to do was humble himself. He would have been okay. I said, no, they sound like the attorney for Lucifer. Anyway, I went further. And I said, listen, he said, the Bible says we're gods. By the way, you find that in the 82nd chapter of the book of Psalms. And I knew he was going to go there, and I went falling for that trap, son. I had this discussion before you were born. Serious, I really, way back in the 70s. I've been hearing this forever. You don't even know. So, look, I've been there, done that, had so many conversations about this. Someone said, train the church to be ready to give an answer. The Bible says in 1 Peter, all right, 2:15, study to show yourself approved. It also says in 1 Peter 2:15, and in 1 Timothy 2:15, and 1 Peter 3:15, be ready. Everyone say, be ready to give an answer of anyone who asks of the reason why you hope the way you hope. Okay? Come on, say, we're supposed to be ready to have an answer. Well, here I am. I'm the preacher and the pastor. And they're now challenging me on church. You know, Pastor drive a Bentley. Why you gotta drive a Bentley? Like, you see, I happen to know that pastor. I said, he gave it back. He said, why did he get in the first place? I said to him, because I knew the circumstance. I told him, look, I knew this stuff. I said, they bought it because they love their pastor, and he gave it back. He said, well, he shouldn't have got it in the first place. He couldn't win. And then look, he says, they kept going about the church and what the pastor drives in the church, everybody. And I said, so I can set up a meeting with you and these pastors. I said, what would you want them to do?
The issue is with the world, they don't want to see like church leaders blessed.
No, they don't. They don't.
And Christians are supposed to stay at poverty level.
Yes. I perceived that, but I didn't. You know what, Chelsea? I knew that was a rabbit hole. I wasn't going there. So I said,
And I have my own businesses. I have my own way. I could give myself those things.
listen, they would still be upset, but I'm trying to tell you, I've been having these conversations for decades, and I knew that was a booby trap, and so I didn't go there. You know, if I had $1 billion operating business, they'd be like, why don't you give all that money to the poor? As my grandmother said, they would never be satisfied. They're angry because, listen, they really view Christianity as a white man's religion. I see you shake your head, Sydney. Yeah. And so, no, I told him, I said, I wish I recorded this. He said, just remember. I said, no, he didn't even know. Someone said, why? I said, why do you need this information? Because we're going to take it to the streets. Come on, preparing to talk, have a conversation in the street. All right. And I began to realize there are different demographics of the black man. Okay. All right. There's some black Hebrew Israelites. There's some Muslims. There's the atheists. All right. Come on, say you gotta know the people you're trying to reach. So in love, I got to reach them. You get my point. And then he said something where we agree. He says a person could be a drug dealer and they'll say he's in heaven. I said, I didn't say that. He said, but most people say he's in heaven. I said, no. I said, more lies are told at funerals. he said, well, you one of the few that was saying. I say nobody know where they went. I don't automatically put nobody in heaven. And if you let this world tell it, everyone went to heaven, and the only one in hell is Satan and Hitler. Come on, say only God knows where they went. I told myself I preach many films, but I do not. You listen, y'all never heard me preach a film, but listen, you will not hear me say, well, they're in a better place now. Trust me, I don't preach in Alabama, all over. I never said they were in a better place. I said, I always say they're crossed over into eternity. Yeah. Oh, I forgot the PSA. All right. So come on, say, show them love anyway. The number one goal, my goal was not to beat them down. They needed to see the love of God in the way I approached them with their hostility towards the church, okay, and towards the Bible. See, they must destroy the Bible, because if they don't destroy the Bible, this is the Bible respect. Then if they honor the Bible, they got to become Christians. So they got to destroy the Bible so they can say that, I don't believe in the Bible, I don't believe in God. That's something. There's no heaven. There's no hell. There's heaven and hell here on earth. I said, you're so confused. I wanted to say that, but someone said that would have been no love. So anyway, enough of the PSA. We're going to stop right there.